All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be looking at Michigan and Penn State. Wolverines take on the Nittany Lions on the road. 1-point line in favor of PSU, 48.5 over-under. Penn State's won 3 out of the last 4, including the last 2. Looking at the Michigan offense, it's been a great running game. Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, you know what they can do. They're very elusive. Two hard-nosed running backs. These guys are probably the top running back duo in FBS this year, but it's really been their offensive line has been getting them the push, led by Andrew Vastardis. These guys are phenomenal. First in college football in tackles for loss allowed. Pass protection's also been great. They had 0 sacks a couple weeks ago against Michigan State, so McNamara's also having plenty of time. He's shined versus the Spartans. He's been effective and efficient all year long, especially against these tough defenses. You saw what he did against Wisconsin. I'm accustomed to seeing Michigan play Wisconsin, and they just get smoked because they can't throw the ball. They're just incredibly stagnant. That was not the case this year. After seeing that, I kind of knew this passing attack is really starting to take shape. I don't think I've ever seen it this impressive under Harbaugh. Eric All at tight end, Cornelius Johnson. These guys are doing good work at receiver for Michigan. It's all around, this offense is progressing very nicely this season. And Andre Anthony, he had a big game versus Michigan State. That's the only game he's really showed up in this year. That was, his first grabs of the year, where it was 6 catches for $155, 2 scores. But that's a guy they're certainly going to start giving more touches to because he's clearly a big play threat. The Wolverines, they don't turn the ball over. Only 7 on the year. It's been a very impressive performance for this offense. They have great balance. They don't turn the ball over, facing another tough defense, which we'll get to here in a moment. But what they've gotten out of Haskins, and Corum, they both have 10+ touchdowns. I think they both have over 600 or 700 yards. Don't know the exact numbers on that, but they have been phenomenal playing with each other. Look at the Penn State offense. They're one-dimensional as you can be. Cannot run the ball whatsoever, despite having great running backs. John Lovett, Noah Kane, Kavonte Lee. They just have not been able to move at all. In 8 games versus FBS opponents, 3.3 yards per carry, 110 yards per game. They just have not been able to get anything going on the ground. Don't see this case being any different here on Saturday. Sean Clifford, though, has really carried the offense. He's been great through the year. 16 touchdowns, 6 picks, averaging 260 yards per game. Around that number, Dotson, 100+ per game. Parker Washington's been very good out the slot. These guys can really hurt you vertically. This passing game is very fun to watch, especially when they can't run the ball. They lean on them that much more. Keandre Lambert-Smith, he's also been reliable for a few grabs per game. So despite being one-dimensional, this offense has really been able to, I wouldn't say thrive, but they've been able to be serviceable, 27 points per game. You saw what they did against Ohio State. They showed up. They were looking very good against Iowa before Clifford got hurt. They still couldn't run the ball in that game. But Mike Yurcich, he's figuring out ways to get his top playmakers involved. He's spreading out the field. So despite being, one of the more one-dimensional units in the conference, Penn State's really figuring out a way to get the job done, so you got to respect that. They haven't really been stonewalled in any game this year on offense that I can think of. So this is a really good offense. Michigan's got more balance. But Penn State, they have probably two great coordinators in this game, Yurcich and Josh Gaddis. So should be a nice little offensive matchup we have here. Let's go to the defenses. Michigan, they have great size on the interior. Mozzie Smith, Donovan Jeter, 2 of those standout defensive tackles. Chris Hinton, another one of them. I like what they provide on the interior. You've seen against Kenneth Walker, they really struggled against the run. Same story was kind of the deal against Nebraska. They really got beat up with some of that misdirection. In the open field, they were not great. Linebacker Joe Ross is going to have to play much better. The defensive line, I'd like to see him get some more penetration in the backfield. All around for the defense, wrap up. Make plays on the ball carrier. Kenneth Walker really exposed them in that category. I don't think they did a terrible job filling lanes. Just overall, the tackling, the athleticism, they didn't showcase it in that game. You're not playing a tough Penn State running game, of course, by any means, but still, they can still make you pay. Noah Kane's a good runner, so they're going to have to be better in that category. That's one of their weaknesses on the defense. But coming off the edge, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, probably the top pass rushing duo in college football as well. It's up there for sure. They showed it against Michigan State. These guys are incredibly disruptive. They both win one-on-ones. They'll draw double teams and still have success. So this pass rush, phenomenal. It's going to be interesting to see how Sean Clifford can deal with these 2 guys pressuring him. because this offensive line this year in pass protection, they've been kind of shaky, been a little iffy. They can't get a good push up front in the running game, so there's going to be plenty of 3rd and longs for these guys to unload on Clifford. That's going to be a big edge for the Wolverines. Another problem they had with Nebraska, it wasn't just the run, it was the pass as well. And, overall, though, outside of that game, they've been very good. This zone is really doing wonders. Brad Hawkins, Daxton Hill at safety, Vincent Gray's having a big year at corner. These guys are really progressing very nicely. They still have a lot of work to do. And then, in the MSU and Nebraska game, they've not been ultra impressive, but they had plenty of success in their own right too. They shut Nebraska out in the first half. They made plenty of great plays in the MSU game. So they just have not put a complete effort together against some of these better teams. Will they do it against Penn State? I think they're plenty capable of it, especially as the year goes on. They can definitely do so. So the Michigan defense making a lot of big plays, nice opportunities for them and their pass rushers. This Michigan defense is making big strides under Mike McDonald. Looking at the PSU defense, they got smoked versus Illinois against the run. That's very uncharacteristic of them. Outside of that, they've been very good. The linebackers in that game taking bad angles, not making tackles. P.J. Mustipher being out at defensive tackle, he's gone for the year. That was a big loss as well. Derek Tangelo, he's going to have to step up some. I think their linebackers have been very good this year. Outside of that, Jesse Luketa, Ellis Brooks, Brandon Smith, one of the top trios in college football. These guys are very good. We'll see how they can do against Illinois, or we'll see how they can do against Michigan, because against Illinois they're very poor. You're going to see a similar running game here. They covered up against Ohio State very well, I thought. Travion Henderson ripped off one big run. Other than that, they were held under, about 70 yards, I think. There was a 70-yard run they gave up, so other than that, they didn't give up a whole lot. So this Penn State defense certainly showed up 1 week after getting thrashed. One of the biggest problems for them, though, Arnold Ebiketie, he's their only real pass rushing threat. The Temple transfer's having a big-time season. Love what we've been seeing out of him this year. But where are they going to find? They're playing a great offensive line. They only have that real one pass rusher. Penetration from the interior it's not been bad, but it's not been great against the passer. So I think that's one category where they're going to be kind of iffy. Secondary is going to have to play very well, as they have all year. Downfield, it's hard to make big plays, especially vertically. With Jaquan Brisker, the football IQ he has, the athleticism. Jair Brown, he's playing phenomenal football this year. Joey Porter and Tariq Castro-Fields on the outside at corner. I really like this secondary. They're probably the best in the conference, what they're doing this season. This balance, though, very excited to see what Michigan can do against this unit. Will Penn State once again dominate in the trenches, or will they kind of get gashed up a bit, and what's going to allow their secondary to have to play better ball? So it should be a very interesting game for the Nittany Lions defense. Looking at team comparisons, I got to give the edge at quarterback to Sean Clifford and Penn State, because Clifford, he hasn't really been using his legs that much this year, but he's been phenomenal as a passer. Well, I wouldn't say phenomenal. He's been really good, though. Very impressive this season. He's really had to put the offense on his shoulders. He's getting into his main man, Dotson. Washington around the middle of the field. Yurch just doing a good job calling plays. He's really fitting this new look system for the Nittany Lions. McNamara's been playing very good football himself, though. But Clifford, he's genuinely had to carry this football team this year because they can't run. So I got to give the edge there. Running back, Michigan. Corum and Haskins, I already talked about it earlier, how they're probably one of the best duos in college football in the backfield. Not much of a debate there. Nittany Lions not getting much out of the running game. They do have the edge of receiver, though, by a pretty wide margin. Jahan Dotson, probably the nation's best receiver. He had 200-plus, I think, 3 scores last week against Maryland. He really dominated them. This guy's just so fun to watch. In Washington out of the slot, I think he's probably the second-best receiver in this game. So we'll give them the edge there. Michigan, they get the offensive line edge. I already talked about it just a second ago. Number 1 in tackles for loss allowed. I think they're top 3 or top 5 in sacks allowed. They're not giving up much whatsoever. There's time to throw the ball. There's lanes to run in, especially on the edge. They're sealing up the edge very well this year. On the defensive line as well, great size on the interior. I really like Donovan Jeter, the pass rushing duo of Obajabo and Hutchinson. These guys are phenomenal. This is a really good front 7 for Michigan, but the linebacking edge goes to Penn State. probably the top trio in the conference and all of CFB. Love Ellis Brooks. He's a phenomenal player, especially against the run. You're going to see this guy. If they shore up their run, if they slow down the Michigan run, it's going to be because Ellis Brooks has a big game. So he's been doing it all year. Expecting to continue that on Saturday. And I think the secondaries are pretty even. I just talked about how vertically Penn State is very good of keeping containment, not getting beat deep, communicating. I think Michigan's also making some big strides in zone. If I had to give an edge to it, I'd slightly give it to Penn State. They didn't give up much to Ohio State in 2 weeks ago. And that's a very tough ask to defend that passing attack, especially on the road. So if I had to give an edge, it'd be Penn State. I really think they're even, though. A lot of very talented ball players in both back ends. Both of them are having really good years. So looking at my final thoughts and keys of the game. Wolverines, I think they need to be fierce off the edge. I keep talking about Hutchinson and Ojabo. These guys are dominant. That's going to be a good matchup for them against this, kind of struggling offensive line. Rasheem Walker isn't exactly having a great year by any means. Not bad either, but this offensive line has really struggled. If you can be fierce off the edge against the pass and against the run, it's really going to set your defense up for success, especially down the stretch. Control the line of scrimmage. Michigan's really done that all year on the offensive side of the ball. If they can do it again here on the defense, it goes hand in hand. You control the line of scrimmage, set yourself up for those long third downs. Pass rushers will tee off. It's really going to be a big edge for Michigan to watch in this game. And for Penn State, they need to find a way to run the ball. You cannot be in those positions I just talked about where those pass rushers can tee off on you. Very athletic secondary for them as well. So it's going to be tougher for the receivers to make plays downfield. Guys like Dotson are plenty capable, but that's not the position you want to be in against this football team. So they need to find a way to run the ball just a little bit. If they can find 150, 200 yards on the ground, they're gonna they'll probably win the game if they have that many yards. But I'm gonna go with Michigan, 26-17. I just think the defense is gonna play a very good ball game. I do believe they're gonna outmuscle Penn State just by a good margin when it comes to running the ball against their defense. They're not going to dominate them by any means, I don't think. It'd be pretty shocking if they did, even with the Illinois game in mind. I don't expect another repeat like that from Brent Pry's defense. But I think Michigan will have plenty of success on both sides of the ball. 26-17 is the pick for the Wolverines.